Okay, so we're still on step one. We're on the second part, on the unmanageable part. So on step one, we talked about power and powerless, and we wrote down the definitions, and we wrote down 10 or more ways that I am powerless over people, places, and things, alcohol, controlling other people, eating, whatever it is that I want to, use these steps to work on. And so we've written out in our notebook that's only used for this step work. Step one, we were powerless over fill in the blank, and my life became unmanageable. And then I write down the definition of power and powerless and 10 or more ways that I'm powerless over whatever it is we're talking about. And then again, I leave a couple of pages because there's always some things I'm going to want to go back and write as soon as I start to really understand how this works. And then I write down the step again at the top of the page with the date, and then I write down the definitions of manageable and unmanageable. And now I want to get 2 or 3 definitions of each one because I really want to understand what we're talking about here. I think that I know what unmanageable is, and I'm powerless, and I typically don't really have a great understanding of it, but definitions will help. And so unmanageability is the outward manifestation of the inner powerlessness. In other words, it's the consequences of my, acting out on my powerlessness, thinking I have power, thinking that I could affect a change, thinking that I could make someone do something that I think that they should do, or stop doing something I think they should stop doing, or I should stop doing something that I want to stop doing but I haven't been able to, and then I have consequences. So I'll use the drinking as an example. I said I wasn't going to drive when I was drinking, and I did, and I got stopped by the cops, and I got a ticket, and my car got impounded, and I got arrested, and I lost my license, and I may have lost my freedom. I may have ended up in jail and maybe even looked at prison time, and I have lots of court costs and lots of explaining to do. It depends what, how severe the consequences are, how many times this has happened to me. I said I wasn't going to spend the money, and I spent it anyway. And then I didn't have the money to pay the rent. And then I ended up having to lie to the landlord, and probably have done that before, and they probably know it. How many grandmothers do I have that can die? And then I get to see the consequences of making promises to my kids that I couldn't follow through on because I was either drinking or hungover, or obsessing about how I was going to get a drink, and I was distracted by that, so I couldn't be present for my kids. I could be distracted by anything. It's not just drinking. It certainly is worrying about money. It's worrying about, somebody else's behavior, thinking that I know how they should be doing something so that I'll be okay. Sort of selfish. Consequences. We want to talk about how my life becomes unmanageable by me trying to exert power. And we write down 10 or more ways that my life becomes unmanageable. And that's it. And we keep that in the notebook.